Question number one this week comes from Mac Hamilton. And Mac says, "Hello, Brian. I just found your podcast on Spotify, and I have to say I like what I'm hearing. It's nice to finally find someone on a podcast that accepts what others have. Accepts that others have different opinions. It's very refreshing. Keep up the good work." Thank you very much, man. I appreciate that. I actually catch a lot of crap for that because I won't pick a side. But thank you for the kind words. I wanted to send you this question. Do you think George Lucas would have sold the rights to Star Wars to Disney if the prequels would have been received better? Keep doing what you're doing, and I look forward to the release of your app. Thank you for the question, Mac. And it's a legitimate question. It's something I've actually wondered before. I think I actually submitted this question on another YouTube channel before to get an answer. And I'm going to have to say no. I don't think he would have. I think had the prequels been different films, right? Had our reaction to the prequels been a lot different, I think George Lucas would have... I think he would have rode off to the sunset with 6 movies and called it quits, and the Clone Wars. I think that would have been it. I don't think he would have been as jaded as he was, right? Because we've heard a lot of stories about how George Lucas was jaded by how the fans reacted to the way the prequels were, how they claimed George ruined their childhood and all this stuff. And granted, I'm not a big fan of the prequels. I'm learning to love them more and more the deeper we get into the Star Wars canon, because there's so much stuff that kind of supplements the prequels. But at the time, we have to admit, those prequels were received as shit. They were received the same way the sequel trilogy is being received now by some fans. So, had they been better, I think George Lucas would have washed his hands of it and said, "That's it. Those are the 6 films. I'm not going back to it. It was a fun ride while it lasted. Not going back." I'm sure eventually, somewhere down the road, he would have ended up making Episode 7. Yeah, because we live in a time now where we're getting... nobody has an original idea in Hollywood anymore, where we're getting nothing but reboots and legacy sequels, which is what the sequel trilogy is. It's a legacy sequel. I think a legacy sequel is defined as any sequel that's like 30 years after the fact on the original. So that's really all we're getting is reboots and legacy sequels. So I think eventually George Lucas would have been like, "Hey, I'm going back to the money pit. I'm going to make another Star Wars movie with laser swords and Naboo and, and jetties." You know how he talks. But I think eventually we would have gotten one. But I think that he sold the rights to Disney because of the way the prequels were received. I do. I think he did. I think, he's talked in interviews since then how it was kind of like a girlfriend. You don't go back to your girlfriend after you break up, right? And he did say years ago he thought if anybody was going to buy this, it would be Disney. They would be able to take it and do what they wanted to with it. So, to answer your question, no, I don't think he would have sold them if the prequels had been received better. And, and I hate to say it that way, because that kind of... in a way, it kind of rewards people for treating filmmakers the way they do, or do nowadays. It kind of rewards that behavior. And we're getting new Star Wars movies now. Depending on who you are, it may just rub salt in the wound even more if you hate the sequels. But we're getting all this new Star Wars stuff now, so I guess in a way I don't want to say it's cool that he felt jaded enough to want to sell it off to make more movies, but I guess in a way it kind of paid off for us because we're getting all these new things. You know what I mean? And depending on how you feel about the prequels and the sequels and the classics, to each their own. Everybody has different opinions on it. But I think all of it ties together, and I think in a roundabout way it helped us in the long run get to where we are now. So I hope that answers your question, Mac. Let me know, guys, in the comments section. I want to know what you guys think. Do you think Lucas would have still sold the Star Wars franchise and Lucasfilm if the prequels had maybe been a little better? If maybe he'd have listened to some people a little bit more often, because he was a yes man, that. So thanks for the question, Mac. I appreciate it.